Hi Cancer, welcome to your August 2020 love reading. It's Raina here. Oh my gosh, you would not believe what just happened. I was doing your reading, it was over 20 minutes long. I thought it was going really nicely. And then I glanced down and I saw one of the cards at the bottom of the desk. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had counted the cards. But this particular deck, the Ethereal Tarot, has an additional 2 cards. So even after I recounted it, I had to, even go online to see how many cards were there. So there are actually 80 cards in this deck. And so I wanted to do it right. So here I am. Okay, so I've already shuffled this pretty good, but I'm just doing it again. And I've also created a love spread on the spot in honor of this particular reading, and I'm going to be using that one. And I'll tell you what each position means after I lay out the cards. Okay. And this deck is kind of the artistic style of, I think it's called Art Deco, but it was like kind of a romantic style in the late Victorian age, the early 1900s. I'm not an art historian, but I think that's this style. But I really like I like it for love readings because of that romantic kind of imagery and style. So this is a reading for people who are both single or in relationships that just aren't working for them. So the heart of the matter is what I normally call the centerpiece, but in this reading I call it the matter at hand. The 6 of Pentacles in reverse. And actually we have a couple of cards that are with that theme. Now let's look at the card upright. And this deck is faithful to Rider-Waite. I think that's why I initially got it, because I was looking for one that was going to have the same type of imagery. And you can see somebody who's in a position of, higher status, who's giving to those who have a begging bowl. And in this one, they're holding a scales, the person as well. So there's that sense of give and take, fairness in life, those who have, giving to those who don't. And so, in the upright position and in a general reading, it can be maybe helping out a family member with finances or something like that. In this type of reading and in the reversed position, it can show that perhaps in your current relationship, or if you're single in your past relationships, and if you've never had a serious relationship, maybe your mindset is out of whack when it comes to this, where you give more than you get. And I'm not talking about dollars and cents, even though this is Pentacles and it is, supposed to be connected to money and stuff like that. But the energy, because we call money currency, and it's the energy that we're really speaking of. And this is even true with friendships. This idea of the person that's always calling the other person, the person who's always initiating. Yeah, it can be always paying for the meals or the snacks or the movies or whatever. But some people just automatically get the money thing into the head, and they're not thinking of making that effort. Is it a two-way street? And this is something that you can control. I always say, yeah, we co-create our reality. That doesn't mean we can control everything. We certainly can't control other people, and we can't control every event that occurs, but we can control if we choose to be with people where we're doing most of the heavy lifting. And that's what I see with the Ten of Wands. So when I get to that card, but I got both of those cards in this reading. So before you complain that you're in that type of relationship, Cancer, ask yourself, what have you done to facilitate that? Especially if it's a pattern. Because chances are you've offered and you have put yourself out there. We talk about codependency. That could be what this card represents. Where you feel like it's your responsibility to do for your partner what they should be doing for themselves, really. And Cancer is a sign of the mother, so even a man can have that desire to nurture their partner, but there's a point, and this is even with parents and children, where the nurturing becomes enabling. And that's where it gets tricky. And really what's happening is that the person who's doing it is trying to get their emotional needs met. They want to be accepted. They want that person. Maybe they want that person to be dependent on an unconscious level, because they feel like then they'll have more control over things. Well, that's kind of messed up. So that has to change within you. So if that theme is relatable, is resonant for you now, that's fine. And if you're single, keep that in mind when you're looking for a partner. Where have you come from? Now, this was the card that I found. This was the last card I found under my desk, and it's a little bit bent, but it's funny because I said to myself, there's a couple of extra cards in this deck, and if I had not included those cards, that might not have been so bad, because I don't even know how to interpret them, and I don't have the book in front of me, so I'm kind of nervous if... No, I didn't get any of them. Good. But apart from that, this is the part of the original deck, so that makes sense. And this is the Fool card, and the Fool card for Cancer, well, the Fool card is 0, as you can see, and there has been a solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Cancer that happened June 21st. So we're talking about less than a month ago. And that might have been the catalyst for you to feel that you are on a new journey. Because that's what this card is really about. An entirely new journey. And what that means is that the past has to stay in the past. It's very hard for Cancer to be like that, because you love the past. You're all about the past. You're about history. You're about family genealogy. So the past can feel more real than the present does to you sometimes. And yet you have to let go of those preconceived notions, that conditioning, to get what you want in life. And so that could have been the catalyst for this understanding. I hope that it was. And the third position is how you can facilitate, how you can make your goals come true when it relates to romance, the Ten of Wands. Now, even though the Ten of Wands is about working very hard, I would say, in conjunction with this Six of Pentacles in reverse, is look at how you are expending your energy? Are you trying too hard to make something happen? Are you accepting responsibility that doesn't belong to you? See it. See where you're doing that in life. Maybe even this is career related. Cancer can be very absorbed with their career like anybody else. And that might mean, like if you're single, that you're spending too much time building your career and you don't have enough time, you don't have enough balance in your life. So you can't get to know somebody consistently because maybe you're traveling a lot, or you're working long hours at the office. And perhaps, especially if you're a certain age range, maybe mid-20s to mid-30s, this is entirely appropriate. But I'm assuming that if somebody's tuning into a love reading, it's because they want that in their life, and something has to give if that's the case. If you're very consumed with your career, and you feel that that's very important to you right now, then embrace that. Don't reject it. On the other hand, if you're, especially like if you're a woman and you're in your mid-30s and you want to have a family, then you have to face the facts unless you want to adopt, and that would be wonderful too. And then biology doesn't come into it, does it? But yeah, so there's that. And then I have the influences around you that may help you get what you want. The Hierophant. And by the way, with the Ten of Wands, if you are currently in a relationship that's going through some challenges, and we just had a lunar eclipse in your opposite sign of Capricorn, and that can bring insights into a relationship that is struggling. I'm talking about a committed relationship here, 7th house. And it's possible that this is due to you on your end, that you're taking too much responsibility for them, and then that's making them worse. Not to say that any problems that they have are your fault, but we can either kind of like decide not to participate in that, or we can exacerbate the problem by helping it along, and only you can decide what's true for you in this case. But in some cases, like if you are working long hours with your career, that may be putting a strain on your relationship too. So looking at it from all angles. And people will say, yes, but this is my career and blah, blah, blah. Well, that means that you value your career over your relationship. And maybe in some cases that's highly appropriate, but we can't just use the career as an excuse to neglect the relationship either, can we? We have to give value to the relationship and see if it's in trouble, that it might be due to neglect. And we have the influences around you that may impact your love life. We have the Hierophant. Okay, well, Hierophant can be connected to marriage, so it could be speaking about perhaps being more committed to your marriage. Yes, Cancers tend to be committed to their marriages, but it's not just a name only, it's indeed. This can be a Taurus person. The Hierophant connects to Taurus. I always connect it to Sagittarius because of what some of the key words are. So if that works for you, then fine. This is about maybe if you're single, that this is something that you really want out of life. You really want to be married. Maybe you need to focus on the spiritual. I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive maybe, but I always think that whether it's wanting more abundance, wanting more love in your life, that the spiritual, turning to the spiritual might be the answer if you've been consumed by the world. Because even though it seems like, the spiritual is against personal relationships and career and money and all that stuff, really what it's doing is it's tuning into your higher self. And what does the part of you that's always in touch with God at that level and has that wisdom connected to it, what does it think you should do? Your conscious mind, your friends, your family may have their own 2 cents that they chip in, but even if you just look at things philosophically with the Hierophant, it puts things into perspective. And the outcome, the world, that can be an end of an era. Maybe that's another timing card. You're going to have a lunar eclipse in your sign at the end of December, Cancer, and that might be if there's some kind of the story that's being told from the solar eclipse to lunar eclipse from June to December in the six-month period about, your life, your goals, what it is that you want to achieve. What needs to end? What do you need to let go of? There was a card I got in the first reading. Oh yes, one of the cards I got in the first reading that I did for you was the Death card in reverse. And I almost feel like I should post both of the readings, but the other reading didn't include some of these cards, so that's why, I did scrap it. But it might be interesting for you to see what that first reading, with the cards I drew for that, because it was the death card in reverse, and it was almost indicating this resistance to change, transformation. So the World card can also indicate travel, and maybe that's something that you have had planned already. Now let me see, for you, the 9th house, which is the house of long distance travel, is going to be Pisces, and Neptune is in that house. It has been for quite a while, for several years. So if I were to interpret that, I would say that it's possible that you at some point in Neptune's transit through this house, I think until, 2026 or 27, that it might involve traveling for spiritual reasons. Maybe you're training for yoga and you go to Bali, or you're training for Ayurveda medicine in India. So whatever, that might be where you meet your soulmate, but possibly for education. I'm talking about academics, or teaching English as a second language, or just plain old-fashioned work, I guess. Some people do work overseas for their job that doesn't involve anything spiritual or what have you. So in any case, perhaps that might be where some of you find the person you're looking for. And I think that's very important to note, because sometimes you do have to, it's not even like you're doing it to find somebody, but sometimes when you allow yourself to change and to experience new things, like the Fool card, and that could be moving to a new country altogether, sometimes when that happens, that's when the pieces come together of the puzzle, where you meet the person you're meant to be your life companion. And if you hadn't done it, you wouldn't have met that person. So just keep that in mind if you're one of those Cancers who's very tied to your homeland. And I'm not a Cancer, I'm a Sagittarian, but I mean, I feel that strong pull to my country of origin, the United States. And it's like, I think about living somewhere else, and even though I'd like to visit it, it just seems hard to imagine actually living there full time. But it would be such a expansive thing to do. So sometimes you do have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And with the Fool card, it's about traveling light. You know, not traveling with a lot of emotional baggage, not traveling with a lot of physical stuff, so that you can just embrace a new adventure. Okay, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a love reading, which is a combination of astrology along with a mini tarot reading, or any other type of reading, the link is below. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.